Alright, time to show more cassettes, so let's get right into it. First off, I got a Michael Jackson box set right here. Past, Present, and Future History, Book 1. This came out in 1995. It's a 2-tape set. The tape 1 is basically a greatest hits compilation album, and tape 2 is basically a 1995 studio album. And let me show you the tapes. Both tapes have identical cover arts. The J cards are pretty identical as well because there's nothing on the inside. Just kind of looks like that. And you know, both tapes look like this. And there's like a merchandise catalog order thing right here. I think that's pretty cool. And then there's a booklet right here, and there's stuff like liner notes and photos and lyrics and stuff in here. It's pretty cool. So anyway, yeah. Now moving on to just the regular tapes, and not any box sets or anything like that. Got a Donald Fagen album, Kemakiriad. You tell me how to pronounce that. I don't know exactly how to pronounce the title there. But this album is Donald Fagen's second solo album outside of Steely Dan. And this came out in 1993. And it was produced by his former, or then former bandmate from Steely Dan, Walter Becker. And I heard the following year, Donald Fagen would produce a solo album for Walter Becker in 1994. And in a sense, return the favor with producing solo albums. New Adventures in Hi-Fi by R.E.M., 1996. And what's cool about this tape is it's in a black cassette shell. I think that's really cool. You see that? Not many Warner Brothers tapes I see in black cassette shells like this. Got one other R.E.M. tape, Fables of the Reconstruction, 1985. It's on IRS Records. It's in a white cassette shell like this. I have a still sealed Marty Balin tape, or actually Marty Balin tape. Sorry, I mispronounced his name. Marty Balin, who is an original member of Jefferson Airplane, and was also a member of Jefferson Starship. And this is his first album, his first solo album after leaving Jefferson Starship. And this came out in 1981. And this is on EMI. So, I don't know, should we open it right now and just see what it looks like? Because I am going to listen to this tape at some point anyway, so might as well see what it looks like on the inside. This will be as much of a mystery to you as it will to me. So that's what the tape looks like right there. And what do you know? Seems like this tape was made in Canada. Yep, manufactured in Canada. So that's pretty cool. It's recorded with Dolby. And moving on, Kojak Variety by Elvis Costello, 1995, and this is a promo stamped cassette. Don't see too many of those around. Although I'm starting to see them a lot more. I've started to see them a lot more lately with advanced copies and stuff like that. And this was recorded with Dolby S noise reduction, as you can see right there. And this, yeah, it's a good album. And if I didn't say it already, it came out in 1995. And I believe this is an album of covers of rhythm and blues and popular ballads. I'm pretty sure it's covers, right? Yeah, a lot of covers. Like I see Bach and Rock and Kay Rogers and Ray Davies. So yeah, a lot of covers of different types of songs. James Ingram, The Power of Great Music, 1991. This is a BMG club issue. You can see it says manufactured by BMG, blah blah blah, on there. And it's on a white tape shell. And this is a greatest hits album that came out in 1991. And it includes songs from James Ingram's first 3 solo albums, which are all from the 80s, as well as including some of the duets, some duets he recorded, like he did a duet with Linda Ronstadt, he did a duet with Patty Austin, and then it also includes some songs he sang lead vocals on Quincy Jones's The Dude album from 1981, like Just Once, and I believe 100 Ways is on here as well. And those are both from Quincy Jones's The Dude album. So, pretty cool. Great, good greatest hits album. Moving on. Love Among the Cannibals by Starship. Starship's last album of the 80s. At least with Mickey Thomas's version of Starship. And the only Starship album of the 80s without Grace Slick, who went on to do a reunion with Jefferson Airplane the same year this came out. So that's pretty cool. So I'll be on the lookout for the Jefferson Airplane album from '89 pretty soon. And then this one still has a Goodwill sticker on it because I got it at Goodwill. But this is a budget compilation album called I've Got Love on My Mind by Natalie Cole. It includes songs between 1975 and 1981. And this compilation album came out in 1987. And I believe this album has mostly ballads on it. Mostly ballads. From what I've heard so far, it is mostly ballads on that. Oh. Another greatest hits compilation only. This isn't a budget compilation. This is Diana Ross and the Supremes Greatest Hits Volume 3. And there is no copyright date on here, and I haven't looked up the year of this compilation album yet. So I'm going to guess this probably came out sometime in the late 60s. Don't know the exact year, though. But it does say Motown 25 on there, so I can figure out when this, about the time this tape came out, was probably, let's see, 59 plus 79. This probably came out 84, about 1984. This came out, doing the math, considering that it showed that Motown 25 logo on side 1. Now, I'm going to move on to this stack of tapes right here. I was at the Goodwill in Ballard the other day, and I found a whole bunch of Stevie Ray Vaughan tapes. So I'm just going to go through them right now. In the Beginning by Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. Before he had Ray. Before Stevie Ray Vaughan had Ray in his name, he was just Stevie Vaughan. And this album was recorded in 1980. It says broadcast live from Austin, Texas, April 1st, 1980. And this album came out posthumously in 1992. Tape looks like that. And there are some liner notes in here. So, you know. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble Greatest Hits, 1995. I'm pretty sure most of these, maybe about all of the Stevie Ray Vaughan tapes I bought have liner notes. So that's what that tape looks like. I also have Volume 2, Greatest Hits Volume 2, from 1999. That's what the back looks like right there at the front. And I got a remastered copy of, this is a 1999 reissue slash remaster of Stevie Ray Vaughan's 1985 studio album, Soul to Soul. But what sucked is when I was rewinding and fast forwarding this album, I realized that the splice came apart. So what I had to do was I had to open the cassette shell of the pre-recorded tape up, and when I did, the case broke, so I had to put the tape in a new cassette shell from a blank tape that I didn't care about so much. So, still a playable tape, but I had to put it in a new cassette shell. I had a splice issue with this tape as well, but thankfully I didn't have to switch the tape shell. I just I opened the tape shell a little more carefully this time, so it didn't crack too much except right here. And I ended up fixing the splice, resplicing the tape with some invisible tape, and that seemed to do the trick, just like I did with the other tape. And I super glued the cassette shell shut. So anyways, this tape is called Blues at Sunrise. This is another posthumous compilation, and this includes some album tracks and then some unreleased stuff on here. And this compilation came out in 2000. Another 1999 reissue remaster of Couldn't Stand the Weather. Stevie Ray Vaughan's 1984 studio album. This one had no problems with splice issues whatsoever. And then the only original non-remastered Stevie Ray Vaughan related cassette that I bought was a Vaughan Brothers album. It's called Family Style. Came out in 1990, and oddly enough it was produced by Nile Rodgers, Chic's guitarist. You know, the guy who did the chucking guitar style, the chugga 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 in Chic on all their big hits like Lay Freak and Good Times. Yeah, that's the guy who produced that album. Looking East by Jackson Browne, 1996. And this was also recorded with Dolby S noise reduction as well. B.B. King live in Cook County Jail. This cassette was was released in 1990, according to the copyright date on the tape shell. But on the back of the J card it says 1980. So I'm guessing that this album, and I'm not really familiar with B.B. King's discography or anything, but I'm guessing this album came out in 1980, and this is a 1990 cassette release. I know nothing about this band. This is Modern English After the Snow. I did look this group up, and they are a new wave post-punk group, and I do like some new wave and post-punk. But I've never heard this group at all. So it's all new to me, and I'm willing to expand my musical knowledge once in a while. Lush Life by Linda Ronstadt, 1984. This is Linda Ronstadt's second album of jazz, traditional pop standards. and it's in a white tape shell like this. And I believe I have this album somewhere on vinyl. And I think she did another album of pop standards after this. And then she did some other types of albums. Joan Armatrading Greatest Hits. Always looking for more Joan Armatrading tapes. And what better thing to find at Goodwill than a Greatest Hits album right here. This compilation includes stuff that she's recorded between 1973, or is it 72? I don't know. I looked up her discography on Wikipedia, and it says her first album was released in 1972, and the liner notes on this cassette are saying 1973. So either 72 or 73, and this compilation spans songs from her debut album in either one of those years, or all the way up to her 1986 studio album, which I'm still missing. So yeah, great compilation. I found a Debbie Harry solo album, Post Blondie. This came out in 1986. This album is called Rockbird. And I don't know if this is her second solo album or third solo album. I've seen her first solo album somewhere on vinyl, I think at the Rat City Records, but I've never seen it on cassette. Physical by Olivia Newton-John, 1981. The pressure pad did fall out of the tape, but I glued it back in successfully. Had this one on vinyl for years, and now I finally got it on tape, so that's pretty cool. Megadeth, Countdown to Extinction, 1992. It's on Capitol, and it's got that XDR logo, so that's pretty cool. And it was only $2. You would think they would price it more, considering it's a thrash, but no. Fate of Nations by Robert Plant, 1993. Blondie's 1999 comeback/reunion album, No Exit. It's on the Beyond record label. Yeah, so this album's maybe just a few months older than I am. Live Your Life, Be Free by Belinda Carlisle, 1991. And this album's actually in pretty nice shape. Whoever last owned this kept this, either has not played this very much, or they've just, they've just managed to keep it in really nice shape and stored it very well. And I was about to say the same with another tape I have. Where is that? Can't Slow Down. Also in very nice shape. This is a club edition copy, but it looks like the person who last owned this did not play this very much, and also stored it very well. And this only cost me 50 cents at a thrift store down in Federal Way. And, yeah. I'm pretty sure, considering the condition, it's a great sounding copy. And I just had to pick it up for 50 cents. Why not? The Woman in Red soundtrack, 1984. Now, one thing I did do here, so I actually did used to have the Woman in Red soundtrack on a cassette. And the first copy I bought was a commercial copy like this, but the tape had a dragging problem. It just dragged, it did not play very well. and I just threw the old tape away. And when I was at that same thrift store I bought that Lionel Richie tape at, I found this. This is a club edition of the Woman in Red soundtrack, and the tape looks like this. And I needed another copy of this, so I figured. What I did was I used the same case that I bought the club edition copy of the album in, and I kept the old J card from the commercial cassette, and I just put the J card inside the case, the commercial J card, and put the club edition J card and the tape inside the case right there. And I do like the look of the commercial J card a little better. So what I do is I have my club edition J card and the club edition cassette inside the commercial J card. And so I have I have the cassette right inside the J card, the commercial J card. And the reason I like the commercial J card better is because of the bolder lettering on the side. I don't like seeing that tiny print as much. I just like the bolder lettering like that. So, yeah. Sorry if I was a little slow at explaining stuff there. Sometimes it happens to me and I'm like, oh no, I don't know what to say now, you know? Moving on, The Color of My Love by Celine Dion. And I did have a copy of this that I bought at a Goodwill several years ago, but again, it did have a dragging problem. But this one does not. And I might still have the other J card from the other copy of this that I bought several years ago up in the closet. This is a blank 60-minute audio cassette tape. And this was sold at Walmart back in the day. You can see it says Walmart Stores Inc. on the back. And it was made in China. Couple reissues of Bad Company albums. Reissues slash remasters. These probably came out in the mid-90s. I'm going to guess about 94 or 95. Around the same time that Led Zeppelin's albums were being reissued, which was in about 1994. And they are both recorded with Dolby S noise reduction, just like the Led Zeppelin remastered cassettes that I have on my shelf. Break of Hearts by Katrina and the Waves, 1989. And this is their third studio album that they released in the US. They had a few, I think they had maybe a few studio albums and EPs that they released in the UK before they released their self-titled debut in the US on Capitol Records. Motley Crue, self-titled, 1982. This one needed a new pressure pad as well, and I gave it a new one. So awesome. And it's in really nice shape too, so that's great. Now I've had to go through 2 different copies. This is actually my 3rd copy of this album on cassette. And this is finally my first copy that doesn't have a problem with dragging whatsoever. It seems even using a little bit of silicone lubricant spray. Is it silicone? Silicone? A little bit of silicone lubricant spray could not help those other 2 tapes very much at all. But finally I found a copy of a tape that does not drag whatsoever. It plays all the way through just fine. No speed issues whatsoever. So that's good, and I think I will finally, in fact I'll probably do it right now, I'll replace my good copy up on the shelf up here with the not so good copy and just throw that down there on the ground. I only got a few more tapes to show here. This is a Columbia House club edition copy of Duran Duran's self-titled 1993 album. This album is often referred to as the wedding album because of the wedding pictures on the front cover. And I believe the big hit off this album was Ordinary World, which is a ballad. Got about maybe 5 more tapes to show here. This next one is Rockin' Into the Night by 38 Special. And I believe the title track was written by maybe, I think it was one of the guys from Survivor. It might have been their guitarist. And they actually originally recorded that album in 1979, and they were, and I don't think they liked the song, and it was recorded during their Survivor's sessions for their first album, and they didn't like the song, and they gave it to they gave it to 38 Special, and they recorded it, and it became a hit for them. Stayed Awake All Night, The Best of Crocus, 1989. Always trying to rack up some Crocus cassette tapes. And yes, that song, that Stayed Awake All Night, that is on the Greatest Hits album, is a cover of the Bachman-Turner Overdrive song that Bachman-Turner Overdrive recorded for their debut studio album in 1973, their self-titled album. Don Henley's Greatest Hits, Actual Miles, 1995. And I believe there are a few newly recorded studio tracks. There are a few songs recorded for this compilation, as well as including all his solo hits. Then and Now by Asia. This is, well, it's a compilation album. The first side of the cassette includes mostly previously released tracks from their first 2 albums, and then I think there might have been one song on side 2 that came out on their 3rd studio album in '85, and then the other 4 songs on side 2 are tracks recorded for this compilation, newly recorded for this compilation in 1990. And one interesting thing I noticed about one of the 1990 tracks is that one of them was co-produced and co-written by, let me see, where does it say that? I'm sure you can see that somewhere right here. One of the songs was co-produced by David Cassidy, and he also co-wrote one of the songs, and that song is called Praying for a Miracle. I think that's interesting. What is Sean Cassidy's older brother doing on an Asia album? I have no idea. But I thought that was really weird and really interesting. Now, this album is a UK import. This album is a UK import, and it was actually under a different name. I don't remember what that name was. And the name is supposed to be the name's actually a typo. Oddly enough, it was the album is there's a song on here called My Tutu, which for some reason the people who printed this called My Toot Toot. Really? And that's what they ended up calling the album, even though it was actually under a different title. It wasn't even My Tutu that was the title, it was some other title. I forget what it was. But anyways, I've never heard of this artist. Denise LaSalle. I don't know exactly how to pronounce her name, but I guess she's a soul blues artist. And this is a UK import. And there's a few tracks apparently released in 1983, or actually there's 2 tracks released in 1983, one on each side, that aren't on the original US album. And those 2 songs are called A Lady in the Street and Come to Bed. Those are the 2 songs you won't find on the US version of this 1985 album that I can't remember the original title of. But you know, I don't know why they called it My Toot Toot. The song was called My Tutu, I'm pretty sure. Weird typo. But anyway, I like the UK cassette. I like the look of that, so that's pretty cool. And you know, the UK tapes from the 80s on Epic Records look different from the US ones. Anyways, that is my cassette update today. Thank you guys for watching. Had a lot of show today, had a lot to get through. But yeah, a lot of great tapes. And I'll make more videos pretty soon. See you guys.